We
This is
also
the original video they posted. Okay, 4 days ago.
did something different. In this family, we may have a child that able-bodied, not married, no kids, but he's sitting on the couch collecting welfare. We're going to put work requirements on that individual, so he's going to have work requirements. He's going to get a job, and it's going to make the life easier.
Damn right. Republicans admitting that, of course, is House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, admitting that the top goal for the Republican.
When you are doing your research, are you already thinking about the response to your response? Like the hypothetical that Cenk will watch this research? I don't think Cenk will watch anything of mine. So the first thing I do is I listen to their take on it so that I understand what their talking points will be. And then I just do research. So we just read some articles, listened to some videos, saw some comparisons between the House and Senate version of the bill. And now that I have more information on it, I'm going to go back and rewatch their thing to see how much I agree with or disagree with. I don't usually set out to like research just one particular point of view. I just want to gather more information, and now I'll go back and re-listen now that I'm,
Republican Party is to put those damn kids to work. How dare they sit on the couch and collect those welfare benefits? Now, of course, he was on Fox News to discuss the debt deal that he and Joe Biden have agreed upon. Now, the real question is, will Congress pass it? And if you think that Joe Biden did a good job in negotiating this deal, you would be mistaken, because Republicans got everything they wanted, and apparently it's still not good enough. They're looking to squeeze a little more in terms of austerity. So let's give you the details on what we know so far.
So this is what I'm curious about. They're saying Republicans got everything they wanted. What did they get? So from what I know, Republicans got work requirements on, I think, SNAP, which is food aid, right? Upped from 50 to 54. So not a big deal. They got clawback on some unappropriated COVID funds, which, does anybody care? They cut 20 billion off the 80 billion IRS funding increase over the next 10 years. Like she leaked, her and Destiny were fighting. What is Lycan talking about? Is the far shit real or is that memes? Oh. Slightly earlier / guaranteed student loan repayments. Yeah, is that it? It doesn't really seem like a huge win for Republicans, given how crazy 2011 was. Oh, there's a ton of stuff outside for you.
Did you not take it in?
No, because I'm streaming.
Holy shit.
So this deal, as it stands today, does in fact include austerity. It includes work requirements. It even has some goodies, some surprise goodies for Senator Joe Manchin and his energy-related projects. So let's get started with what I think deserves a lot more attention, but has not been getting much attention in its coverage, the PAYGO provision. What is that? Well, the bill text applies Congress's pay-as-you-go rule, which requires new spending to be offset by savings elsewhere, to executive actions. That would mean presidential actions like student loan forgiveness would require a huge offset.
Pay-as-you-go. PAYGO provision. What is this? Provision known as statutory administrative PAYGO has been introduced in the debt ceiling deal struck by House Speaker McCarthy, President Biden. According to this provision, whenever discretionary regulation increases direct government spending by $1 billion per period of 10 years, $100 million, federal regulators will be required to find offsetting spending pay cuts. While this Regulatory pay-go requirement is a positive for supporting fiscal responsibility. It requires further strengthening to ensure its effectiveness at controlling regulatory costs. First, the provision grants excessive waiver authority to the Office of Management and Budget Director, making it susceptible to frequent waivers based on political pressure or whim. Specifically, the director can waive the requirement in case where it is necessary for the delivery of essential services or necessary for effective program delivery. To close the escaping loophole, waivers should be limited to emergency situations only. Moreover, ideally, small impact rules. Wait, what the fuck?
Okay.
Jesus. Wait, what is this song? Why do I feel like I've listened to this before? He stole it from your playlist. It's a jazz arrangement of a Pokemon song. We'll be taking, yeah, I'll get to the Ukraine stuff. Stop asking me about other topics. We'll get there. Let me finish this one topic. Jesus. Oh. Did you see America's taking another break from online shit? Good for her. Without oversight from the courts, regulators will not be held accountable for non-compliance with the PAYCO provision. Introducing judicial review, would I come finally includes a sunset clause, means it will expire at the end of 2024. Oh. PAYGO requirement that sunsets at end of 2024. Okay.
Do you guys understand what's happening here? So the pay-go provisions, which have already impacted Congress, essentially say, if you want to push for, let's say, an executive action or a piece of legislation, you have—
This is already in effect. The PAYGO rule just codified an executive order made by Trump. Did Trump's PAYGO thing apply to executive actions?
have to cut—
The Administrative Pay-As-You-Go Act of 2023 implements statutory PAYGO for administrative actions, executive order. Oh, okay, so. Wait.
Trump actually put in, we took it, put it in statute now and made it stronger. That's good going forward long term on both sides. But that's helpful. When you look at PAYGO, I think it doesn't matter who's in power, Republican or Democrat, you want to make sure the Constitution works, that the president, whoever it is, be it President Biden, be it President Trump, that can't go around. This was an executive order that President Trump actually put in. We took it, put it in statute now and made it stronger. That's good going forward long term on both sides of the aisle. So I think people will look back and say, oh, I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but
Okay, so PAYGO is not a big deal.
Spending elsewhere to offset the new spending for this new initiative, this new policy. It is a very convenient provision for Democrats to point to as an excuse for why they do nothing for you. Oh, the legislative filibuster, what could we do? In this case, PAYGO. Oh, the PAYGO provisions, what could we do?
So this point doesn't make any sense because PAYGO's already been in place since October of 2019 from Trump. If I'm to understand this correctly, this just doesn't make any sense.
It's just a convenient excuse, and of course Biden agreed to it because he wants the convenient excuse.
Wow, Sunny Lizard, welcome to the Tier 4 Supper Clubber.
So that's just the beginning, tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to get to, Cenk.
Yeah, so every part of the deal helps Republicans, including the Joe Manchin part. Progressives got absolutely nothing out of it, but it's not just about progressives. Democrats, other than Joe Manchin and his dirty energy deal, literally got zero, nothing. So if you're seeing in the press, oh my God, it was a wonderful compromise. There was no compromise at all. As you'll see here, every provision got worse as the negotiations went further. The headlines were so misleading. I thought maybe Biden clawed something back from the Republicans. No, he gave them even more.
Yep.
I don't understand why they keep saying this. It got worse, he gave them even more. When the House bill was so much more extreme than what actually got passed in the Senate. But maybe he's about to justify this.
So, and look, I said from day one that Biden wasn't gonna do anything in the next 2 years. That was super obvious. It was always obvious before they even lost the House, but after they lost the House, it was an absolute guarantee. But the media does the thing of like, oh no, you never know. Biden cares a lot about a lot of things. He's trying really hard on a lot of things. He wasn't trying anything on a single issue, right? And so, but as Anna's pointing out here, once you put in PAYGO, it's over. Now it's technically, legally, nothing is ever going to get done in these next 2 years that would be part of the Democratic agenda. And Biden, the media will lie to you. And they say, oh, he did a wonderful bipartisan conference. No, Biden is thrilled.
Super thrilled.
Because then he doesn't have to bother pretending to do things he was never going to do anyway. He can just go campaign for himself, the only person he cares about.
Exactly, so think about this. In Congress, because
like, bro, Biden is like 80,000 years old, and he knows he's 80,000 years old. Like, I doubt he's looking after his own personal whims as much.
of PAYGO, because of ideological divisions, nothing ever gets done unless it has to do with major handouts to corporate power, right? Like various government grants in the form of the infrastructure bill. It all tends to benefit the corporate world. The only way that we get anything done these days is if
are they saying the infrastructure bill benefits the corporate world? I mean, corporations are what do all the work. I don't understand how it would go any other way.
The president, a Democratic president, passes something through executive action, and PAYGO basically nixes that. But there is one caveat that I want to make sure you know about. So for instance, the text says that the White House Office of Management and Budget could waive the requirements if necessary for the delivery of essential services or necessary for effective program delivery. So it's just the executive branch's version of the parliamentarian in the Senate. Right? In this case, it would be the Office of Management and Budget determining whether or not the executive action is worthy enough to do without the PAYGO provision taking effect. All right, let's move on. There's a lot more to get to, including what we all kind of expected to happen, which was the cap on discretionary spending. So as Time writes, negotiators agreed to cap annual discretionary spending for 2 years, keeping non-defense spending levels flat next year and raising them by 1% in 2025. Okay, that's a fancy way of trying to say they're capping spending when it comes to any government program that benefits ordinary Americans, which is it's a cut, basically, because when you take into account—
Am I crazy, or doesn't defense spending benefit ordinary Americans too? Where does most of defense spending go? $2010. This is the 2010 military budget. Operations and maintenance, military personnel, and procurement. I'm guessing, like, is procurement probably like contractors and shit?
Count inflation, it ends up being a cut, but they're going to continue raising spending for defense specifically. That means.
Okay, let's do talking point and counter. So the work requirements were upped from 50 to 54. However, it increased the amount of people eligible, namely veterans plus homeless people. So the SNAP spending will actually increase. Clawback on some unappropriated COVID funds. Who cares? These funds weren't being used anyway. No big deal. 20 billion off the 80 billion IRS funding over the next 10 years. The IRS's mission will largely go unchanged. They can fight to claw back the clawback in the future. Student loan repayment was going to happen at the end of the summer regardless. And for PAYGO stuff, this was already enacted by Trump. Sunsets at end of 2024 anyway.
Funding for most domestic program spending for.
Oh. 2-year spending cap. Originally in the House bill, they wanted a 10-year spending cap. Negotiating this down to 2 is pretty significant.
Defense specifically. That means funding for most domestic programs such as housing, education.
Hold on. No judicial overview. No judicial. For spending, or I'm sorry, for determining when to overrule the PAYGO rule, I guess, whatever.
And road safety initiatives will stay the same next year at around $936 billion. And again, by staying the same, it's really a spending cut because of inflation.
Can somebody tell me how this works, where you make you do a bill and you agree on like not increasing spending? Could you theoretically just pass another budget that increases spending in the future? Like, is it illegal to do that, or how does that even work? Where are my government people at? It's just the benefit of future negotiation pressure. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
So let me give you some more. The work requirements are, of course, part of this deal. So for those who rely on food stamps or SNAP benefits, which amounts to about $6 a day, they will have to prove that they are working in order to get that.
Okay, so this is something that Cenk said earlier, and I hope that I'm misinterpreting them, but we're gonna find out as we listen to them. It sounded like what Cenk said earlier, and it sounds like what Anna is saying here is they thought that there were absolutely no work requirements whatsoever. They thought that there were 0 work requirements for these, and now there are a ton of work requirements, whereas in reality, it only increased the age from 50 to 54. I don't know if they were aware of that or not, but we're about to find out.
Benefits, which amounts to about $6 a day, they will have to prove that they are working in order to get those benefits, okay? So the deal also raises the age limit until which able-bodied, low-income adults
Okay, they're reading the text of the bill at least. That's good.
without dependents would be required to work to receive food stamps from 50 to 54 years old. The expanded restrictions would expire in 2030. So if you are a 50-year-old and you're having difficulty getting a new job because of very clear age discrimination that obviously impacts people in their 50s.
Isn't unemployment right now like 3.5%? $3.4 to 3. I don't believe that anybody is having trouble getting a job right now. I don't believe that. I'd be interested to see numbers if I'm wrong, but.
Too bad, between the ages of 50 to 54, you would not be qualified for food stamps, even if you're having difficulty finding a job because of these work requirements. Yep. It's unbelievable. Except with this Democratic Party, very believable.
Okay, quick note on that. All the standard corporate Democrats, including Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats in the House now, said there's no way that they were going to cut include work requirements. And we told you, no, they will definitely do it. In fact, I made a bet with Emma Vigeland for $100. I was positive they were going to do work requirements. Why? Because I know Biden's legislative track history and his presidential track history. He always agrees to spending cuts from Republicans, always, 100% of the time, and always gives them more than any negotiator thought was possible when we first started the negotiations. Of course they're going to do. So, okay, Hakeem Jeffries, let alone the progressives, all said that it would not stand. Looks like it's standing. So who was right and who was wrong? And is Hakeem Jeffries fighting back now? No, zero, nothing.
In fact, just a quick reminder, I believe it was last week, Hakeem Jeffries came out with a statement, all of a sudden changing his tune and saying that the work requirements are reasonable.
But I was curious about how, in your most recent video, you commented how you disliked veneers. Can you elaborate on that more?
If you want to get them, it's fine. I just think that like the glowing, exploding white teeth is kind of weird, but I mean, I guess not.
All of a sudden, all of a sudden get a call from the donors. Oh, remember, this is not about the debt ceiling. This is a wealth redistribution plan to take from the people who have the least and give it to people who have the most. This doesn't even necessarily reduce the deficit. The whole thing is an utter sham. There are actual facts in the world.
Right.
You know, right-wing media and mainstream media take those facts and pervert them to no end. But there are things in this here. Here, I'll give you another one. So they were the IRS funding. Now that's the one thing I give the Democrats a ton of credit for, $80 billion over 10 years, not over 1 year, okay? So that they could increase the audits for people making over.
The unemployment rate for people aged 50 to 54, or 45 to 54, is holy shit, all these numbers are so insanely low. Oh, unemployment is fucked for these ages. I'm surprised these people are counted. Are these, is this the U3 or the U6? The numbers are low, so this must be the U3. Huh. That seems kind of weird. No, it can't be because of school, because U3 unemployment isn't supposed to include quote unquote discouraged workers. So it should include somebody that's going to school and not looking for a job. Unless it's all like high school dropouts and people who are kind of fucked in life, maybe. Unresponsive plane over Washington, D.C. Wait, what? Someone in Kick Chat just said that. Oh, this is old. Jet fighters chase small plane in Washington area before it crashes in Virginia. Students are counted towards the number. Wait, really? No. Labor force participation rate is closer to the U6. But that labor force participation in U3 is not the same thing. What is this cuck shit? U3 is the most commonly reported rate of unemployment in the United States. U6 includes everyone not accounted for in the U3 rate. Discouraged, underemployed, and unemployed workers in the country. So U3 is just people that are looking for work but can't find it. The U6 is going to be your overall labor force participation rate, which will include things like students and stuff. I would be surprised if students were included in the... I can just Google this. Are students included in U3 rate? Oh. Unemployed workers are those who are jobless, seeking a job, and ready to work if they find a job. Some unemployed. Note that labor force does not include jobless or not seeking work, such as full-time students, homemakers, and retirees. Okay, yeah, no, it shouldn't. Okay. It's only if they're looking for work.
$400,000 a year. Now, that's the one thing I give Democrats a ton of credit for, $80 billion over 10 years, not over 1 year, okay? So that they can increase the audits for people making over $400,000 a year. Those are unfortunately, the wealthier cheat on their taxes by far the most. So for every dollar you put into the IRS, you get $6 back in revenue. So that's what the nonpartisan governmental organizations agreed to, right? So what did they do? They weren't supposed to touch it. Then all of a sudden Biden said, okay, maybe we cut it by 10 billion out of the 80 billion. Okay, so all of a sudden we are touching it. And then the latest deal, I mean, the headlines say, amazing, partisan, and Biden got an amazing deal. It's now, they cut it by 20 billion.
Yep.
It got twice as bad. Where's the amazing deal part of this? Guys, you can go back and see the earlier articles. They're all archived. First they said none of this would happen. Then it was 10 billion, now it's 20 billion. There are facts in the world. Mainstream media is lying to you. This is a terrible deal.
And we've been saying from the very beginning that everything Republicans were...
He looks like an angry... I'm not doing a personal stuff, but just his demeanor, he looks like an angry...
Terrible deal.
And we've been saying from the very beginning that everything Republicans were promoting, everything Republicans were demanding would be provisions that Biden would eventually agree to. And that's exactly what happened. So for instance, when you're cutting...
He looks like an angry kid. He looks like an angry child. Like when kids get mad, like, oh, he just looks like that. I don't know why. It just looks funny to me.
20 billion from the allocated 80 billion to ensure that wealthy tax dodgers are paying their fair share. What do? What does that do? That 80 billion from the allocated 80 billion to ensure that wealthy tax dodgers are paying their fair share. What do? What does that do? That aids and abets the tax dodgers. That actually means that we're gonna lose revenue because of the tax dodgers doing what they do in dodging their taxes. Democrats were bragging about how the extra funding to the IRS to ensure the wealthy were paying their fair share and were not dodging their taxes, that would actually increase revenue by $200 billion. That's what they were saying.
Now it's gone. So now, by the way,
to some extent.
Well, how is it gone? Yeah, to some extent. Let's chill.
Yes.
And the 60 billion left, you're talking about, oh, don't worry, it just goes to bureaucracy. No, it was supposed to go to the audits so that we stop the tax cheats and we get extra revenue in so the deficit is not as bad. Instead, on average, I mean, finish the math on it, 20 billion times 6, according to, again, nonpartisan groups. That means they put $120 billion hole in the deficit. Wait a minute, I thought this was about deficit reduction. It ain't about deficit reduction. They cut from the poor and they give to the rich.
This is a wealth redistribution bill. Cenk mentioned that perfectly earlier today because it redistributes wealth, I mean, what's left of wealth from the bottom to the top, right? This is a way to aid and abet the tax cheats. This is a way to continue increasing defense spending while imposing caps and austerity on any other government program that helps ordinary people. I mean, they're hyper-focused on work requirements for the needy, for people who rely on food stamps for sustenance.
$2 a meal. They're cutting it when it's just $2 a meal. They're like, that's too much for the poor. But we have to give everything to the rich. Now, hold on, we're not done yet. Let me speed through the rest of it for you guys. So again, deficit reduction, my ass. No, the military budget goes up 3%. Why? Because that goes directly to defense contractors who donate to both Republicans and Democrats. This doesn't reduce the debt. It's just to give to the rich and to the donors. And so that part is not deficit reduction. That part sucks. That's exactly what the Republicans want. Now, the one part that the Democrats got, was the Mountain Valley Pipeline. That's the one that Joe Manchin wanted, right? That Anna referred to earlier. Notice progressive priorities like paid family leave that would help you when you have a baby, higher minimum wage, higher wages for all of us, wages get pushed up. None of that is ever carried over. Once it's dead, it's permanently dead.
That's right.
But this son of a bitch, Joe Manchin, has wanted this all along, and Joe Biden broke every promise to progressives, every promise. But Manchin, oh yes, put it in that one, put it in that one, put it in this one. This is like the 8th bill that they've put it into. And they're gonna sneak it in because it helps fossil fuel companies and donors and sons of bitch conservatives like Joe Manchin. That's who Joe Biden is. The media is 100% lying to you. More cuts, $30 billion from the COVID bill. They had already passed it. The Democrats already did a victory lap. Oh, we got your money. Oh, just kidding. $30 billion back. We got to give it to the rich. We can't have it lying around for that.
Where is it going to the rich in? Or what do you mean?
Average American, gone. Every part of this is a disaster. Speeds up energy projects. Does that help the deficit? It has nothing to do with the deficit. Just helps oil and gas companies. Right. Oh, look at that, the donors are helped again.
Right.
Guys, the facts are obvious.
Exactly, and just to shed more light on the energy projects, basically there used to be, well, currently there are multiple government agencies that need to sign off on new energy related projects because they need to look into how it impacts the environment. I know, believe it or not, there is some oversight in regard to the environmental impact of some of these energy projects. Well, according to this new deal, it would cut out many of those government agencies that would oversee these projects and approve these projects out. So there is some look into to sign off on new energy related projects because they need to look into how it impacts the environment. I know, believe it or not, there is some oversight in regard to the environmental impact of some of these energy projects. Well, according to this new deal, it would cut out many of those government agencies that would oversee these projects and approve these projects and just rely on one government agency to give the green light. And I guarantee you, in every case, they will give the green light. It just makes it easier to get these energy projects, these fossil fuel projects through. And you're so right, Cenk, in that anytime there is an effort to pass legislation that would help ordinary people, once it fails, we never hear about it again. But when it comes to projects like Joe Manchin's, Mountain Valley Pipeline, it's never dead. They'll find.
Why does this, I don't understand, why does this pipeline not help ordinary people? Aren't like costs of energy, aren't costs of energy like some of the most important things that ordinary people pay for? Like, is that not an ordinary person's thing?
Find a way, they'll find any opportunity to sneak these provisions in and get what they want, because as long as it benefits the wealthy, as long as it benefits corporations, as long as it benefits, honestly, members of Congress who stand to profit off of it themselves, they'll get it through. They'll get it through. That's exactly what happens every single time. It's just, I don't understand what Democrats plan on campaigning on. Like, what are they? No, but seriously, like, let's have a real conversation about this, okay? Because when it comes to corporate giveaways, when it comes to aiding and abetting corporate greed, Democrats are right there with Republicans at this point. They're pro-corporate, they're pro-austerity, they're pro-screwing ordinary Americans and redistributing wealth from the bottom to the top. There's no difference at this point when it comes to the pro-corporate policies. So what are they going to campaign on? The rhetorical stuff they engage in when it comes to cultural issues? And I say rhetorical because take a step back and really think about what they've done for the various disenfranchised.
I think there's a documentary where they were fracking around residential areas, and that could turn, and they could turn on their water faucets, and there was gas coming through. Am I crazy, or I thought fracking was done to get different types of oil out of the ground? Is fracking done for natural gas? What fossil fuel do you get while fracking? Oh, fracking is for natural gas. Yeah, I thought it was for shale gas. Fracking shale gas wells. Hydraulic fracking is a technique used to enable the extraction of natural gas or oil from shale and other forms of tight rock. Gotcha.
Communities that they purport to care about. Seriously, ask yourselves, what have Democrats done to improve these people's lives? Nothing. It's just rhetorical garbage. So I don't know, am I supposed to hang my hat on the Democratic Party because of their rhetoric?
No, you know what they're gonna run on, everybody knows it. We're not Trump.
Trump is so scary. But,
yeah, we're not Trump.
But Biden has implemented many of the policies or extended many of the policies from the Trump administration.
Corporate tax rates extended.
The immigration
tax
policies
cuts, for the rich extended. Immigration policies extended. We can go on and on and on and on. But look, they're gonna go to their two favorite places. One is we're not as bad as Republicans.
Except they kind of are.
No, because Trump tried to end democracy. So okay. That's how low the bar is for Democrats now.
So
we didn't also try to end democracy, vote for us. And then they go to their second trick, which is the most effective trick by far and has worked every time until.
Is he going to bring up minorities or is he going to bring up LGBT?
And we don't know, it might work again, which is they just get the mainstream media to lie. 24/7 on their behalf.
Okay.
Biden's a progressive hero. Biden is FDR 2.0. Biden has accomplished more things than any other president in human history. I mean, these insane, ludicrous lies. And but they get people to believe it because their propaganda is much more sophisticated. I got to tell you, last two tricks here. One is on student debt. They're like, in fact, the article I read from Time Magazine says, Biden refused to retreat on his plan to cancel up to $20,000 of student debt. Refused to retreat, it makes him sound strong. So did he get anything? No, he actually gave more to the Republicans. He says, you know how we were not collecting interest on all the loans because of COVID, et cetera, on the student debt? Okay, Republicans, you win. I'm gonna give you that. We're gonna start collecting the interest again at the end of the summer, okay? Well, how about the refusal to retreat on the $20,000? No, that's irrelevant. The Supreme Court's deciding that, and they're gonna decide it pretty soon. And very likely they're gonna rule against Biden, and Biden knows that. So he now retreats on student debt and gives Republicans more, takes away from students. So later when the Supreme Court rules against him, he's gonna go, oh, golly gee, I tried. Make sure you tell everybody how epic I am, okay? But God, there was nothing I could do. Oh, did I give away the interest rate forgiveness too? I guess I did, didn't I? No, I'm gonna compromise it was. Well,
so the interest rate stuff, that was going to expire at the end of the summer anyway, right? There was no...
What did Democrats get? Zero, zero,
They got
zero,
nothing.
zero, zero. Guys, there are facts in the world. Mainstream media, they actually write it in their articles. Like you go line by line, you cannot find one thing the Democrats got. But the headline says, amazing compromise.
Bipartisanship.
Bipartisanship, okay, last trick. So they go, I see it all over social media now, establishment Democrat like fanboys. Like, oh, but Jake, how could you say this was a bad deal? The Republicans are complaining about it. Yeah, no crap, Sherlock,
no.
to put it somewhat politely. Guys, this is part of the game. I've covered this for 25 years straight. Republicans demand something outrageous. The Democrats can just ignore it, like use the 14th Amendment. There's 1,000 ways to ignore it, right? Democrats choose to enter a negotiation they don't have to enter into. Then they give away more and more and more and more. And at the end, the Republicans go, not enough. Oh, this is outrageous. And they ask for one more egregious thing. And guess what the Democrats do? And now I will predict it ahead of time, as we always do, and we are almost always right. If the mainstream media is wrong, right, and we're wrong, and we're the radicals, how come we're right on the facts every single time? So I will tell you right now, the Republicans in the House will vote this down. There'll be a panic. And they'll say, oh my God, we gotta do something now. And Biden will give them more. Because that's what he always does here. In fact, I'll do a fun prediction for what he'll give them. This one's like, because he can give 1,000 different things, so this one's not guaranteed. But my guess is, he'll move the IRS defunding he moved it from 0 to 10 billion to 20 billion. Now I think he'll probably move it to 40 billion and give away half of the IRS funding.
Jesus.
Because they don't want to audit the rich. The one thing I gave them credit on was, it turns out, a sophisticated trick where they were just gonna pull the football later.
Yeah, and look, the GOP's tactics are enviable. They're never satisfied. They always demand more. And Democrats, because of the fact that they're bribed by the same people, are always willing to give more. And so that's exactly how this is going to play out. I have no doubt about it. And I'm just curious, all of the people celebrating Biden right now on Twitter or social media, have they bothered to read anything?
No.
Have they sat
no
down?
way.
Have they had the discipline to just sit down and actually read the details of the deal?
If they have, show me one thing Democrats got out of it.
No,
That's the
seriously,
challenge.
that's such a great question. Seriously, maybe we're missing it. What did Biden and the Democrats get out of this deal?
There are facts in the world. They got nothing. Mainstream media wants to present alternative facts to you, just like Fox News does.
You know what? I apologize. There is one thing Biden got. He made a deal with the devil, specifically because he wants to focus on campaigning for re-election. So because of this deal, if it gets through, will not have to worry about raising the debt ceiling next year as he's campaigning.
Yeah, but that's still nothing.
That's
He doesn't
just-
have to worry about it by
that's-
just using the 14th Amendment. And we were done with this conversation months ago.
No, you're not getting it. I know it's nothing,
Yeah.
but it's something that Biden wants for his own purposes, for his
Yeah.
own political aspirations,
Well,
for
if
his
we're
own
framing that-
narcissism.
no, you're absolutely right. And if we're framing it that way, then Biden also got a lot of things he wanted. He wanted to cut from the poor and the middle class, and he wanted to give it to
What the fuck is this 14th Amendment debt ceiling argument? How much do I need to... Including debts incurred for payments of pensions and bounties for service. Is this another one of those like esoteric or nebulous progressive arguments about how we could do something that would be completely and totally unprecedented and completely and totally legally untested and that is a ton of people don't even agree with? What was the expiration date on the on default? Does anybody know? June 5th? Jeez.
the rich. That's what he's done his entire career. He also got that.
Election. So he, because of this deal, if it gets through, will not have to worry about raising the debt ceiling next year as he's campaigning.
Yeah, but that's still nothing. Because
That's
he doesn't
just-
have to worry about it by
that's-
just using the 14th Amendment. And we were done with this conversation months ago.
No, you're not getting it. I know it's nothing,
Yeah.
but it's something that Biden wants for his own purposes, for his
Yeah.
own political aspirations,
Well,
for
if
his
we're
own
framing that-
narcissism.
no, you're absolutely right. And if we're framing it that way, then Biden also got a lot of things he wanted. He wanted to cut from the poor and the middle class, and he wanted to give it to the rich. That's what he's done his entire career. He also got that. He wanted an
Jesus.
excuse to do nothing the next 2 years. He got that. And he got an excuse to do nonstop campaigning. So Biden got a lot of wins. The Republicans got a lot of wins, but the American people got screwed. And who told you that? Certainly not the mainstream media. They told you Joe Scarborough was beside himself, ecstatic for how much he loves this deal. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it.
It is true that Democrats didn't really get anything in this negotiation, but I mean, all Democrats were probably looking to do were, one, avoid a debt default, and then two, realizing that they lost the majority in the House, try to not lose too much in terms of staving off said default, right? What is our, what have our budgets been? U.S. budget history, United States. Can somebody give me like a discretionary spending U.S. Oh, how is this hard to find? This looked like it went to 2019. Oh, okay, hold on. I'm sorry, 2022 at least. Holy Christ. Am I really reading this correctly? Is it 1.7 trillion? Oh, I'm not thinking of, that's a really big discretionary spending budget, right? Jesus fuck. Discretionary spending. Is there like a trends in discretionary spending as a percentage of GDP? Oh, well, I mean... Destiny, Lauren De Laguna clip. What? Oh boy.